30. Whatever. I apologize for being late. What time we got tomorrow?
You
10
tell
to
me.
4? 10 to
What's that?
4?
10 to 4, okay. Matzah Shabbos?
What we do last week?
6:15. Want to do 6:10?
Yeah, 6:10. Why not?
Okay.
Okay, I guess we'll skip the Musa. What did we get up to? Oh, yeah. Okay, we're on the Mamash on the top line, Yudal Amid Aleph. Yeah, we stopped a few lines too short last night. But, so we'll just have to chaza. So we have a machlokes between Rav Chisda and Rabbi Elazar. Right? Over is Chotzer Shutfin considered a Chotzer or not? Meaning, we know that if you have damages in the how do you call it, in the Chotzer HaNizik, so then you have it's different dinim than if it's in the Rishus Harabim or Chotzer HaNizik and Amazik. Right? So the Gemara said, the Mishnah says Rishus HaNizik v'Amazik. Right? So that it has to be a place where both of them are allowed to be. So the question is, what about a Chotzer HaShutfin? Shein and Regel, we know you're only chayav on Shein and Regel if it's in the Rishus of the Nizik. So Shein and Regel is only in the Rishus of the Nizik. So what happens if they're partners? Right? What happens if they're partners in the field? Is that called Rishus HaNizik or not? So that's a machlokes. Right? So then we brought this whole case of Shomrim. So we said that there's a case of Shomrim where let's go to the simple case. A guy borrows a shor from somebody, and now that shor goes and gets damaged by the Gemara didn't know which way the case was going. But again, the guy has his own shor and he borrows a shor from somebody else. Right? Now that shor that he borrowed went and damaged. So we say that is that's a problem, right? Because why should he be chayav? Should he not be chayav? It's damaged his own shor. So we said that it does. He's gonna be chayav just like any other shor. But then the Gemara said a teretz. It's talking about where the borrowed shor gored the guy who the borrower's shor. Again, the borrower has a shor, and he borrowed another shor from somebody, and that shor that he borrowed gored his own shor. Right? But what it is, the Gemara said, it's talking about where he was makabel achrayis. When he said, I'm borrowing a shor, said I'm borrowing a shor, and I'm making sure that it doesn't get damaged. Right? But if it does damage, that's not my responsibility. So that's what we said was the case. Right? Fine. So Gemara says, if that's the case, and it's not a double shmira, but it's like a half-baked shmira. Again, somewhere where the guy that borrowed the shor said, I'm making sure that it doesn't get damaged by anybody else, but I'm not taking responsibility for it damaging others. Right? So then the Gemara says, if that's the case, top line. Yeah, we'll pick it up from there. Ihachi ema seifa. Let's say the seifa nifritza belayla. Let's say the Sefer says that this guy was makabel on himself, the achrayas, and it broke down. The animal broke in the middle of the night. Osha Pratzua list him, knocked down the fence, and it went out and it did damage. Potter is Potter. It's mashma that if during the day, if the fence broke and the shor that he borrowed went and did damage, he's chayiv. So Gemara says, how can he be chayiv? He wasn't makabel on himself that he's going to make sure that this shor doesn't damage. Right? Again, it said in the case that if he's makabel on himself shmira, then he's not responsible if the wall breaks in the middle of the night, right? Because he's honest, right? Mashma that during the day, right, he'd be chayiv. So then, how could he be chayiv? He didn't accept on himself the responsibility, right? So my answer is hachi kamer im kibbul of shmiras nizakov chayiv. If he's makabel on himself the shmira of it for it, making sure the shor doesn't damage something else, he's chayiv. And then, since he was makabel on himself, meaning it's a whole new case. The first case is talking about where he was not makabel on himself, that the shor shouldn't gore others. Then the second case says he was makabel on himself. If it broke at night, or listim broken, it's potter. Right? So Gemara says, now, okay, so that's it. That's the end of that sugya. Now we go back to the previous sugya, which is a machlaikis. If there's a partnership in a field, is that called? And then one of the partners' shores goes and damages one of the other partner's shore. Is that called in the chutzner of the nizik or not? So Gemara says it's aini, right? Are we going to taka say that he's potter? It can't be. For Tani Rabbi Yosef, chutzner hashutvin v'apundik. You have a chutzner of partners and a pundik in a hotel. Chayev ben ala shein v'ala regel. He's chayev for shein and regel. Tiyuch to the Rebbe Lazar. It's a kash on Rebbe Lazar. Because here you see that if the place that belongs to partners, then there's a chiyuv of shein and regel, so it's a kash on Rebbe Lazar. So I'm like Rebbe Lazar, the Tizber, and according to you, masnisa mila pligi, is there not a brisa vatanya? Arba klalas Reb Shimon ben Elazar ben Ezekiel. There are 4 rules that Reb Shimon ben Elazar said by damages. Kol shu b'shus lenizik v'lei lamazik. If it's a reshus for a nizik and for a mazik, chayev b'chol, then he's chayev everything. Meaning, if the damage gets done in the nizik property, then you're chayev on everything, right? What's your shor doing in this guy's property, right? The mazik v'lei lenizik. If the property belongs to the damager and not to the nizik, potter mikol, is potter from everything. Meaning, somebody's shor wanders into my farm, and then my shor gores his shor. Well, what was your shor doing in my property? So therefore, I'm potter. That's 2. Let's say the property belongs to both. It's a chatzar of the shutvim, or in a bika or in a field. Potter ba ala shein v'ala regel. He's potter on shein and regel. So you see right there, it says a chatzar that belonged to partners. You potter on shein and regel. Ala nagicha, v'ala nagifa, v'ala nashicha, v'ala ravitza, v'ala beita. And on how do you say it? Nagicha is goring, nagifa is pushing, nashicha is biting, ravitza is sitting on it, beita is kicking. So then tam mishalim chatzi nezek. If it's a short tam, it pays half nezek because it's keren. Muad mishalim nezek shalim. And if it's a muad, it pays nezek shalim. That's case number 3. Case number 4 is loizeh v'loi lezeh. If it's not for this one, not for this one, could go in chatzah she'ena shel shneim, a chatzah that doesn't belong to both of them. Chayiv by ala shein v'ala regel. So he's chayiv on shein on regel. Ala nagicha, v'ala nashicha, v'ala nagifa, v'ala ravitza, v'ala bita. Tam mishalim chatzi nezek, muad mishalim nezek shalim. Right. So whatever it is, you see that there's 4 properties. Katani mias. We learned, however, chatzar hashutvin v'abika. If you have a chatzar that belongs to partners, or it's in a bika, potter ba'ala shein v'ala regel, is potter on shein and regel. Right. So therefore, you see that partnership is not considered. I'm sorry, the reshus of the nizik. So you potter again. Shein and regel are only chayiv if it's in the reshus of the nizik. So we have a stira between the 2 cases. Even in a brisa, we have this brisa says he's potter on shein and regel because it's not considered the chutzner of the nizik. The other brisa says it is. So kasha adadi, it's a kasha. There are kashas on each other. It's a stira. So Gemara answers kitanya hi b'chutzner miyuchedes lezeh v'lezeh bein leperes bein leshvarim. Again, the Gemara is it's splitting hairs. It's saying that this chutzner is talking about where it's a chutzner for both of them, whether it's for Peres or whether it's for Shvarim. Right? Meaning they're allowed to bring in their animals, they're allowed to bring in their fruit. Right? Hahidu Rabbi Yosef, but the case of Rabbi Yosef, where he says Yuchayiv, B'chatzim Yuchedes lePeres, Ve'enam Yuchedes, I'm sorry, so he's potter, is B'chatzim Yuchedes lePeres, Ve'enam Yuchedes, I'm sorry, not potter, he's Chayiv, Rabbi Yosef is Chayiv. Hahidu Rabbi Yosef, B'chatzim Yuchedes lePeres, Ve'enam Yuchedes leShvarim. It's talking about a chatzar that the only thing they're allowed to do is use it for their fruit. They're not allowed to bring their shor in there. So for Shane, it's a chotzer hanizik, right? So, basically what the Gemara is saying, it's really dependent on what rights does this guy have in the field. If the guy's rights to the field are to bring in his shor, so then it's considered chatzar hanizik. But if he doesn't have a right to bring in his shor, then it's not chatzar hanizik. So the Gemara says, Dekonami, the katani hacha, dumi the pundik. It says here, it's similar to a pundik. A pundik is a hotel, which hotels, I don't know what the pet, the Gemara is assuming that you can't bring a pet into the hotel, right? But Lamaisa, there are some hotels that do allow pets, taka, right? They have a pet policy. Sometimes they charge extra money. So assumption is that there's talking about where there's no pet policy, right? So therefore, he doesn't
pet
have
is not. I wouldn't consider an ox a pet.
Hey, you never know, though.
Unless you're in Woodburn.
Hello, excuse me. You ever see Blazing Saddles? No.
It doesn't have to be an ox.
No, but
biting works also. A dog bites too.
But that's the example the Gemara is using. So I don't know if it's comparable to nowadays, where most people don't consider an ox a pet nowadays.
It's interesting you're saying that, David, because the Gemara right now
this price doesn't mention ox.
Well, it says
in this price.
It says negicha, negifa, neshicha. I mean, that's the assumption, no? I guess theoretically.
It's any Karen. Whatever the case is, it's Karen.
No, but it's an interesting thing. The Gemara is saying what David's bringing up is a good point, I think, right? The Gemara is saying that there's a difference in what rights you have to the property. If you have rights to bring in your shor, then it's chatzar hanizik, right? If you have rights to bring in only your fruit, then it's not. So now maybe we could be machalik and animals too. Maybe you only have rishus to bring a dog in, you don't have rishus to bring in a shor. Or are we going to say that it's it's across the board? It's all animals?
No, same difference.
Okay.
I have to the animal that caused the damage has to be allowed in. If it's not allowed in, that's going to be rishus hanizik. If it is allowed in, that's rishus mazik.
I hear. Okay, so then it would make a difference if you go with that. But anyways, it's interesting dig. So the pundik. We learned that it's similar to a pundik. The bika, and we learned over there it's similar to a bika. Right, a bika is a field, right? A field, an open field in the stomach. You can bring animals in there. Shmami no. So we hear that this is a good teretz taka. So then basically every time you want to figure out if a partnership is considered rishus hanizik, you got to check the contracts. Right? You got to check the contract and see what rights does he have to bring in there, etc., etc. Shmami no. So then the Gemara asks, "Maskol Rav Zeira, kiven dimichedas lepeiros, since it's meyuchid for peiros, if you're saying that it's only for peiros, right? So, but don't we need a beer b'stei acher? Meaning by shein and regel, you need to be able to say that he did destruction in somebody else's field. Veleka, you don't have that because he's allowed to. Since it's a shutfis, and they're both allowed to use it for peiros. So why is that called the chatzar of the nizik? So when it says Amar Abaya, Kima de'enam yichedes l'shvarim. No, since they're not allowed to use their oxen. See here it says shor. Here it says shor. Right? Kima de'enam yichedes l'shvarim. So today acha karinami. That's called somebody else's field because they're not allowed to bring their oxen in there. Since they're not allowed to bring their oxen in there, then it's considered somebody else's field, and he could be chayev on shein v'regel. Okay, so then what happened is here we had a machlokes amoraim over whether a partnership in a field could be considered like the nizik's field, right? And then we had a brisa that had the same, that seemingly had a stira, which would be the same machlokes, meaning we had a machlokes tanoim, which we said is not a machlokes. We just said that it's talking about different types of partnerships. So then why can't we say the same thing by the Amirayim? And maybe Rav Huna and Rav Elazar are not having a machlokes. Right? Why don't we say the same thing? They're not arguing. One is talking about where the partnership was for the field and for the shor to come into the field. The other one was saying that the partnership is for everything. Right? So why can't you say that? So Amalei Racham Yidu Ravina Lemim Nasnisa Loi Pligi, Ameroi Nami Loi Pligi. Ameroim also didn't fight. Right? There's no machlokes. They're talking about two different cases. Amalei in, yeah, that's true. You could say that. And if you say that they argued, they're arguing in the kasha of Reb Zera and Abaya's answer, which we just said 3 lines ago, right? Reb Zera asked if it's miyuchad for Paris, then it's considered. Meaning, if the mazik has rishus to put his Paris there, so Reb Zera said, so that's not considered rishus on nizik. And then Abaya said, yes, it is. It's not. It's not considered rishus of the mazik because they're not allowed to bring oxen in there. So that would be the machlokes, which in that kasha and teretz would be the machlokes. Okay, fine. So then the Gemara says, "Vayta gufa arba klolas Reb Shimon Elazar Omer ben Izaken." Right. So he said 4 rules. Kolshu rishus lenizik v'loy lemazik chayav b'kol. If the damage happened in the property of the nizik, then he's chayiv for everything. Right? Alakol loikaton. It doesn't say on everything. It says bikol. Right? He's chayiv in everything. Bikule nezek means that he's chayiv to pay nezek sholim. Now Gemara thinks now he's chayiv to pay nezek sholim even if it's a short tam. Remember, a short tam, meaning a shor that never gored, gets 3 strikes. Right? And the first 3 times it does damage, it only pays half. But here it sounds like he's going to pay whole. Right? Well, otherwise it says chayiv bakol. So why? So money, who is this? Reb Tarfani. It's Reb Tarfan. The Omar, Shuna Karen b'chatzar nizik. Karen and chatzar nizik is different from nezik. That nezik shalim mishalim. When even though Karen, which is meaning a horn, normally pays chatzi nezek for muad, but when it happens in the chatzar of the nizik, then you have to pay nezek shalim. So that sounds like this brisa sounds like Reb Tarfan. Again, Reb Tarfan holds. Let's just add this to another nuance in the dinim of damages, right? But Reb Tarfan holds that if there is no such thing as short tam when it happens in the nizik's property. When it happens in the nizik's property, you have to pay the full damage, not half damage, even if it's the first time that it damages. So then Gemara says, okay, then we have a kasha. Ema seifa. Look at the seifa, the same brisa. Loy lezeh v'loy lezeh. Not to this one, not this one. Going chotzer she'ena shel shneim. Your chotzer that doesn't belong to them. Meaning, it doesn't belong to either one of them. That's what we're thinking now. Chayiv ba'ala shein v'ala regel. You chayiv on shein and regel. My loyzeh. My loylezeh v'loylezeh. What does it mean that a property doesn't belong to this one and not to this one? Ilaim loylezeh v'loylezeh klal. If you say that it didn't belong not to this one and not to this one, ela da'acher, it belonged to somebody else. V'be'ina u'biyah b'stei acher v'leka. You need it, that it has to be. It has to do the damage. Again, the literal translation of biyah b'stei acher means that it consumes or burns in another field. So it has to happen in somebody else's field. For lekan, you don't have that, right? Meaning, if it doesn't belong to either not the mazik, not the nizik, right? Then it doesn't. Then there's no shein v'regel. Again, based only on a technicality in a pasuk. Ela pshita loylezeh v'loylezeh ela dechad. What it means is that it doesn't belong to this one and this one together. It belongs to one of them, right? And which one? The person who got damaged. Vikatani seifa, and then the seifa says tam mishalim chatzi nezek and muad mishalim nezek shalim. A tam would pay chatzi nezek and a muad nezek shalim. So who's that like? That's like the Rabbanon. Meaning, we just got finished saying that we're going according to Reb Tarfon, who holds that if you damage, there's no such thing as short tam if the damage happened in the nizik's property. And now the end of the brisa only fits if it's going according to the Rabbanon that holds that there is nezek shalim, chatzi nezek, right? So Gemara answers, "Son Rabbanon, the Amri Mishuna Karen b'chatzar hanizik chatzi nezek hu mishalim." Karen in chatzar hanizik is chatzi nezek, right? So the Gemara says, "Reisha Reb Tarfon v'Sefer Rabbanon." So you have one brisa in the Reisha, it's Reb Tarfon, and the Sefer is Rabbanon. Gemara answers, "In yes, the Ha'amar le Shmuel Rabbi Yehuda, because Shmuel told Rabbi Yehuda, Shinana. Shinana means somebody who's smart, like sharp one. Shvoik masnisin v'tah basroi. Leave the Mishnah and go after what I said, right? So what does this mean? Meaning you can't explain this Mishnah without saying that it's the ratio is Reb Tarfon, safe as the Rabbanon, right? Shouldn't the Shvaik Masis v'Tov that's right? Ratio Reb Tarfon, safe as Rabbanon. Fine. Ravina Mishmei the Rav Amar Kula Reb Tarfon. He says no. The whole brisa is Reb Tarfon. Umay loy lezeh v'loy lezeh. Again, before we said that loy lezeh v'loy lezeh means it doesn't belong to both of them. It only belongs to one of them, the nizik. Loy lezeh v'loy lezeh lepeirus ela dechad. It doesn't belong to both of them for fruit. It belongs to one of them for fruit. And lezeh v'zeh l'shvarim. But for this one and this one, for shvarim. Right? Basically similar to what we said before, meaning they have a partnership. It's a very complicated partnership. They have a partnership that they can both bring their animals in there, but they do not have a partnership for fruit. Only the one that got damaged is allowed to bring his fruit in there. So for Shane, it's Chatzar on Nizik because he's the only one that's allowed to bring in the fruit. Right? Lagabi Karen, but Karen, which is both of them, Lagabi Karen, then it's a Rishus Rabin. So the Gemara says, okay, so if that's the case, you just said that there's 4 different Rishuyas. Now we're saying that the Loy Lezeh is similar to the other case. It's just that one of them has for fruit and one of them is not allowed to bring in fruit, right? But essentially it's 3 cases, not 4 cases. Now, Shloisha klolos ba'arba mekaymes. What it means is that there's 3 rules, meaning if you do damage in the nizik's property, if that's one, you do damage in the mazik's property, and then you have property that's owned by both of them, but you have 2 variables. One is where it's a shutvis for both, and the other one where it's a shutvis for both, only for shvarim, not for peiros. Okay. That's the harder part of the daf. Yeah. Well, yeah. Then this next mission is one of the most vague mishnayos you'll ever get. Right? It's not difficult, it's just vague. So the Mishnah says Shum Kesef. Shum really means evaluated money, meaning how do you pay for damages? So there's evaluated money. Shova Kesef, it has to be worth money. Bifnei Bezdin, it has to be in front of a Bezdin. Al Pi Edim, B'nei Chayrin, it has to be with Edim. B'nei Chayrin, they have to be free, meaning not slaves. B'nei Vris, they have to be Jewish. Noshim B'chlal Nezek, women are part of damages. Nizik B'mazik B'tashlumin, and there's Nizik and Mazik with the Tashlumin, meaning they're both involved in the Tashlumin. Right? There's no way to understand this Mishnah. You ever see this? Look at the Rashi. Shum Kesef, Rashi has 4 words. Kula Masnisa Mefarish B'Gemara. Rashi's saying, don't even bother trying to figure out this Mishnah without the Gemara, right? Each one is cryptic. Okay, so now let's see, what does the Gemara mean? My Shum Kesef, what does it mean? It has to be evaluated with Kesef. Rav Yehuda, Shum Zeh Lo Yehi Ela B'Kesef. This evaluation should only be with Kesef, with money. What does this mean? Tanina Lo D'Tana Rabbanan, Parash Zika Talis. Right? You have your classic accident, right? You have a collision of 2 cars. They both damage each other, right? We're always going to try and use, what's it called? Contemporary examples, right? So essentially 2 cars damage each other. So here the Gemara's case is talking about where a para damaged the talus, and then the talus damaged the para, meaning it's stomped onto the talus, and then it got tied up in the talus, and then it tripped. So they both damage each other. So ain't I'm teitze para betalis with teitze para. I'm sorry. Ain't I'm teitze para betalis betalis bepara. What do you call this, David? Offsetting penalties, right? Would that to be the sports marshal for the?
Is it both? It says it's both of them.
Yeah, each one damaged each other. So we're gonna say
because Archgirl teaches it or not and.
Or? They touch it as or?
Yeah, it says if a cow damaged a garment or a garment damaged a cow. Let me. And then he brings a footnote in Rashi saying, I'm saying that's what he's saying. He's not saying and.
Yeah, but
Rashi with the Hagoy
okay.
Sabach.
What?
It's Rashi with the Hagoy Sabach.
Right, but meaning we're essentially saying the same thing. Meaning, you can't say that one should offset the other. Right? Meaning, don't say Ein Oimrim Teitze Para Betalis. Don't say that the para, you're just going to be potter because there's the damage of the talus. Right?
The,
Well, let me make
that's
sure.
not the way the Rashi
But you
learns
have
it.
to shots them up, no?
That's the Gemara saying. The Gemara saying you have to shots them up. Don't think that okay,
Why
it's
would I
one
think that? Why would I think that? It's a face mask and roughing the pass, and the other one was an offside. No, why would I
so
think
they.
they're the same?
I know, but they do offset each other, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not. I don't know rules.
You're not holding. You're not holding. Okay, I think they,
So he knows the Mets. He knows the Mets.
as far as I know, they will offset each other.
Yeah.
You don't have a. I think I don't. I don't know. Truth is, I don't know. You gotta. Maybe you could. You'd have to decline. I don't know.
In
Avi's
football,
the way Avi
that was
knows
good.
stuff.
I was
Yeah, well,
waiting for Avi. I was waiting for
Yeah.
Avi. I didn't know he's
So
yeah.
it's a machlokes. In football, it's offsetting penalties and they replay the down. In hockey, it's matching minors. They don't say, okay, everyone plays. Both guys get thrown off the ice and they still play
That's 4
5
on
on
4.
5.
5
Or
on 5.
5 on 5 or 4 on 4, depends on the penalty. Yeah.
I hear.
Matching, if it's matching minors, then it's the guys that have made the
But if
damage.
it's a 5 and a 2, they both go. But then they do have a power play. Yeah.
It doesn't get rid of. I mean, if it's matching,
Yes.
there is
If there's
no
a
power
fight,
play.
if there's
No,
a
if it's a
5-minute
5
penalty
minute,
and there's a
it's a
2-minute
5
penalty,
minute versus 2 minutes.
One guy draws blood, and the other guy gets a 2-minute minor or 2 double minors.
Right, that could be it could be 5 minutes, right, or 10-minute major.
Right. So essentially, that's what the Gemara is saying. So, Ein Oimrim Teitze Para Betalis. Don't say that the cow should go and get money from the talis, meaning having nothing to do with how much it's worth, the talis papara, or that the guy whose talis got destroyed should just take that instead of the para. Ella shaman oisa bedarim. You have to evaluate each one how much it's worth, right? Meaning we don't say that, oh, you damage me, I damage you, let's all go home. Let's just call it a day and finish. No, you have to evaluate each damage as it comes. That's what it means, shum kesef. Right? Okay. I don't know if my sports marshal works or not, but I thought it did. Okay. It was a good avamin.
It was very good. Yeah.
All right. Fine. Shova kesef. It has to be worth kesef. Meaning it doesn't sound like not actual kesef, but worth kesef. Rabbanon, Shava kesef.
Yaakov,
yeah.
Way back in the beginning of the NBA, when the players, if there was a fight, they threw out both players. It didn't matter who started, who didn't. So the Celtics had somebody who used to just start pounding Dolph Shays. And if Shays hit the guy back, they both went out. They lost. The Celtics lost that 10th man, and they lost. The Nationals lost their first guy. That was part of the strategy. Then they changed. Then they made it discretion of the referees. Yeah,
I hear that was like the hack-a-shack. You get
something like that.
You get the 12th guy in the team to foul him the
right,
whole. And you don't right. I bet the hack-a-shack. That's pretty good. That's pretty good ideas right there. No, does anybody have any idea what we're talking about? Okay. Anyway, yeah, I never hold all the wasted brain space. What can you do? Anyways, the Tanur Rabbanan Shava Kesef Melamed Shein Bezdin is Kakan Ellen Nechasim Sheyesh Achrayas. Bezdin only can go collect from nechasim that have achrayas. Now, what does that mean? Nechasim sheyesh and achrayas means belongings that have achrayas, which is essentially a code word for property, because that has achrayas, right? Meaning jewelry doesn't have achrayas. A guy could sell it, and goes down, and it just disappears. Land is like we know, like you have your land. That's where you always have to take out mortgages or loans are secured by land. Avalim kadam nizik. So meaning the nizik does not collect from the guy's watch, from the guy's jewelry, all that. He could collect from land. But avalim kidam nizik v'tavas metaltalin. But if the nizik goes and grabs metaltalin, then Bezdin goyven lemehem. Then Bezdin will collect it for him. Meaning he's not supposed to go take the guy's watch, but if he did, then he can keep it. Samar mar. Shava kesef. What does it mean, shava kesef? Melamich ein bezdin niskaken el nechasam sheyesh nechrayis. Bezdin is not niskak only to nechasim that have achrayis. Right? My mashma. Where do you get that shava kesef is karka? So the Gemara answers, I thought this was very interesting. Amar Rav Mula, davar shava kol kesef. Karka is worth any amount of money, meaning there's something called aino, usury, right? You can rip somebody off. And then you have to, you can't rip somebody. Anything more than, if you overcharge more than a sixth, then the sale is nullified. Not on karka. So therefore, karka is worth an unlimited amount. It's shava all kesef. So that's what it means, right? But metaltalin are not, because it can't be worth. You can give it back if it was too much money. So Gemara says, "My niu davar she'en lo yaino." So if you're saying that it's something that doesn't have aino, avodim and stars, avodim and stars also don't have aino. So it's something that you can buy it with kesef, right? Karka, you could be kind of with kesef, right? Meaning, and that would be enough of a kinyan. But metaltalin, you can't be kind of with kesef. Metaltalin, you have to actually pick it up. So Gemara says, I asked, avodim shtaros nami nikna bekesef. You could be kind of evident a star with kesef. Elam Ravashi shava kesef eloy kesef. It's shava kesef, but not kesef itself. Bahani kulu kesef ninu. All of these things are kesef. Right? What does this mean? Meaning, karka, avodim, metaltalin, they can be brought from one place to another place. So therefore, that's mamash like money. But karka is shava kesef, because karka can't be moved, right? Fine. So that's what it means. That's how it gets to. That's how we get that shava kesef means karka. Then the kasha that we should have all asked, which I didn't ask, but it's a pasha the kasha. Rami le Rav Yehuda bar Chinan le Rav Huna breidu Rav Yeshua. Tana shava kesef. We know that it says shava kesef melamed she'ein bezdin iskaken ela nechasam sheyesh achrayas. It says that bezdin only collects from land, right? Only things that have responsibility to it. Vatanya, we said yashiv. Remember, we said this a few times. The word yashiv means you have to if there was a damage, you have to give back the money. Yashiv, the Rabbi shava kesef. It says that you can give back shava kesef afilu subin, and it says even bran, right? So you see that you are allowed to collect from somebody damages. Bezdin is allowed to collect from anything. If bran works, so then other things are going to work too. So what is it going to mean? Again, the Mishnah seems to be saying that you can only collect for damages from karka. Whatever, we had a Gemara that says you could even give bran, whatever the guy has left. So Gemara says, Hagamai Askinan, then the Mishnah is talking about a very specific case. Hagamai Askinan b'yasmi. We're talking about Yisaimim. Again, which we didn't mean, it doesn't mean Mamash Yisaimim. It means that the father his father's shar damaged, right? And then he died. So now the kids have to pay. The kids don't have to pay the father's debts, but it does come out of the father's Yerusha. So what are we talking about here? And Yerusha only gets collected from land. So that's what it's saying. Really, 100%, Bezdin could collect from anything from people that damaged. But if the guy died, then they could only collect from land. So Gemara says, Ibi Yasmi, it's talking about Yisaimim. What about the Seif? Kidim Nizik, the toughest metaltalin. If the Nizik goes and does grab something that's movable, Bezdin Goyven Lemehan. Bezdin lets him collect for it. Yasmi, but if it's somehow Yisayim, my Bezdin goyvel him. Why does Bezdin collect it from him? Bezdin should let it go. Right? So it's talking about where the guy took it when the father was still alive and then he died. Right? It's mamish a very specific case. Somewhere where the guy grabbed it when he's still alive, then he died. So essentially what we're saying here is metaltalin only works. Not only karka, this that the Mishnah says that karka is collected is only from when a guy damages and then he dies. That's the only time it has to be karka. Other than that, it could be metaltalin. Okay, then it says it has to be b'fnei bezdin. Prat l'moicher nechasav arga chaylik lebezdin. So Gemara says a weird one. This would be another loophole. If this Gemara would stay true, then this would be a great loophole. It's talking about somebody who sold all his belongings and then he goes to bezdin, right? Meaning the guy's shard damage. He did a whole lot of damage, and then he sells off all his belongings, and then he goes to court.
He puts it in a trust.
What?
He puts it in a trust.
Right, exactly what we do, what people do with these things, exactly what they do, right? So the Gemara, that's right. You give everything away, and then they can't come after you, right? So the Gemara says, "Shmami no loive u'mocher nechasov." If a guy borrows money, and then he sells all his belongings, and then they bring him to Bezdin, ain't Bezdin goyvel man? Bezdin doesn't collect from him, right? So that can't be. Bezdin, of course, you can't sell off your belongings after you take a loan. Ella pratla Bezdin had yoitis, very much simpler pshat. It means you can't go to a minor Bezdin. It has to be a Bezdin from people that have smicha, right? That's the only ones that can be mechayev you for damages. Fine. Al pi edim. It says it has to be edim. Prat lemoide beknas v'achagach bo edim. This comes to exclude a case where we know that a knas is a fine. So there's a din that if a guy is moida for a knas, then he's going to be potter. Meaning a knas is the chacham put a knas onto somebody that did damages, or matzi shemra, or if you go an eved, or anything along those lines, they give a knas, right? Which means it's not it's a set payment no matter how much the damage was worth, right? So, but if a guy is moida before Bezdin puts the knas on him, then he's potter. So what the Gemara is saying, when it says al pi edim, it's coming to exclude. What happens if the guy is moida and then edim come? Right? So what we're saying, the Mishnah means, is that moida b'knas and then edim come, he's potter. So Gemara asks, that all works according to that opinion, who says if edim come later, he's potter. But according to the man Omer that says moida b'knas and then edim come, he's chayev. What are you going to say? What's the Mishnah talking about? So Gemara says, Seif Strichle. Really, the only reason why it said Edim is because it's leading into the Seifa on Talmud Aleph now, which is what? B'nei Chayrin u B'nei Bris. So we're saying that what it means is that the Edim have to be B'nei Chayrin and B'nei Bris. Meaning it sounds like in the Mishnah, you deal with damages. It has to be with somebody who's free and somebody who's a Yid. Right? That's what it seems. But now we're saying, no, it's talking about the Edim. B'nei Chayrin lemute avadim. B'nei Chayrin means you can't have avadim. And B'nei Bris and lemute avadim. B'nei Bris lemute avdei kechavim. Comes to school avdei kechavim. Right? V'tzricha. So why do you need both? Diyash minan eved mishum de'ein loy yachas. Eved has yichus. Right? Meaning there's no yichus from the father to the son. Our Nachri, the Yeshla Yachas, but a Nachri does have sort of yichus, right? Right? There is father for the guy, so then maybe then you would think that he's not allowed to. He's allowed to be an aid, right? V'yash mean a Nachri, and if you say Nachri mishum deloy shayach b'mitzvahs, a Nachri doesn't have shaychus to mitzvahs, so therefore he can't be an aid. Aval Eved the shayach b'mitzvahs, when an Eved is shayach b'mitzvahs, right? An Eved Kanani has to keep mitzvahs like a woman. Emaloi, so you would say no, meaning no, and therefore he's not excluded for being an aid, and he could be an aid. Tzricha, so that's why we need to say both to tell you that both of them cannot be an aid. Okay, the next Gemara is easy. Since tomorrow's Friday, let's do to the next two dots. So v'anoshim b'chlal nezek. Women are included in damage. How do we know that women are included in damages? Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav v'chein tana devei Rabbi Shmuel Amar Kra Ish Isha. Gemara brings 3 psukim now. It says Isha ki yasami kol chatas. It says a woman or a man that do a chatas. So you see that there's such a thing as a woman being liable for doing something wrong. Hishva cause of Isha leish l'chol einchin shabbatayra. All punishments in the Torah we equate a man with a woman. So therefore, damaging is a form of punishment. That's one pasuk. Second pasuk. These are the mishpatim you put in front of you. They have the same dinim, so they have to keep. They're liable. Right? If he killed a man or a woman, the Torah equated Isha Ish for all mitzvahs in the Torah. Okay, now what do you need 3 psukim for? But tzrichi, the Iash Mina Kamaisa would say the first one. Hasam hu dechas Rachmana Allah. Rachmana has the Torah here will be Yotzar Musar now for the night. The Torah has Rachmana's honor ki hechid dehavi la kapara, so that she should have a kapara, right? Because the pasuk's talking about if somebody does a chatas, then it means they did something wrong, right? Meaning we always look at these things as punishments, as if it's a punishment. It's not. It's actually a schus. To get punished is a schus, right? The Gemara is saying the Torah had pity on women, right? And therefore, the Torah wanted her to have a kapara. Unfortunately, right? Everybody says, oh, you need a kapara, you need a kapara. Well, you're lucky if you get a kapara, right? I don't know if I'm right. A guy was going back to Eretz Yisrael. Tell me if I'm crazy on this one. A guy asked me, he's going back to live in Eretz Yisrael. Now, a Koil guy, he came back since the Milchama. He's going back. He wants a haftacha that everything's going to be okay with him. Now, why is he asking me for haftacha? All right, whatever. That's a different story. But he's asking me for haftacha. So I said, I don't understand. If Chas v'Shalom Hashem wanted to take him al Kiddush Hashem, isn't that the biggest chus? Isn't that the biggest chus to be taken al Kiddush Hashem? So I should give haftacha against the biggest, that you shouldn't have the biggest chus? You're not going with that?
I could tell you it's great line, but I'm not gonna say it now.
All right.
From general.
Now you have to say it.
Right, you said it before. You said it before. What was it?
Yeah, from General Patton, it's a Geschmacker line. It goes against what you're saying, but it's a Geschmacker line.
It's not against what I'm saying. I don't think it's a stira. I mean, this guy's not going to the army. He's going to sit in Koil. Okay. This guy's going to live a better life than me and you combined. I promise. In Yerushalayim, right? So you're going off. Okay,
what did General Patton say?
Say it.
General Patton said he was giving a speech to his troops that were going out. He says, the greatest thing you can do for your country is not to die for your country. The greatest thing you could do is to make the other son of a bitch die for his country. Yeah.
Take a good word.
And he drops the mic and leaves.
Who, Thiago?
He told me to say it. We said it once in the morning, Chabura. He knew what I was going to say.
Maybe it was censored.
We should have been finished this time anyway, but we only did a little extra because it's Thursday night, so this time was up.
I don't think he's finished yet.
Coming back on to tell Pshat in the Gemara of Akiva when he was raked with the hot iron rakes. So he was marich be'echad, and Talmidim asked, "Stop, Rabbi, stop." So Rabbi said, "Until now, I didn't get a chance. Now I got my chance." One of the pshatim, one of the basic.
Guys, Thiago's back on the over did up.
I know,
go
but
ahead. Go ahead, finish it off. Finish it off.
I got Lichveish. Here we go.
One of the basic pshatim I heard over the years is that Rabbi Kiva was giving them the lesson. It's one thing to die al Kiddush Hashem. That's not the biggest thing. But even bigger than that is to live al Kiddush Hashem. So he was marich be'echad through the grace Yisrael to live al Kiddush Hashem.
Interesting. Who says that pshat?
I can't remember. I heard it probably 30-something years
Anyways,
ago.
okay, but the point of the Gemara is that the Torah had Rachmanis on a woman to give her a kapara. I am saying I'd like a little. I mean, I can find better ways to have Rachmanis on somebody. Right?
In Tzviagav, that means that the Gemara had it pashut, that the lav was there. Even, what does it mean, hishva kazvish ish? That means it's pashut that she was included in the lav, just for the kapara, not.
Yeah.
What's pshat in that? There's a havamina that she would have been excluded from the kapara, but included in the lav.
It's interesting. It sounds interesting, right? She would not have a kapara. Yeah. Anyways, but that's the Musa Shaboy, that it's a schus to get a kapara, right? Anyways, Aval Dinin. So maybe that's by kapara. That's the first pasuk. By Dinin, by Mishpatim, Ish debar maso matanin, Ish. You have to know what contemporary women nowadays are going to do with this Gemara. Ish debar maso matanin, a man who does business, so he's included. Isha loy, but Isha's not, because they don't do business, right? So how would that fit into today's world? Okay. Because now this Gemara is master that she does do business, right? If it would just say dinin, she has to be included in it, because if we don't include her in dinin, who's going to do business with a lady? She's going to be able to rip you off. If she doesn't have any mishpatim, right, she's going to just ram her car right into yours and say, hey, I'm a lady, I'm out. Right? So nobody's going to go anywhere near her. What? I mean, that's what
that doesn't happen.
That's a different story. Okay, that's for the later. That's the post. Avakapara ish the bar mitzvah in Isha the lav bar mitzvah is also very interesting havamina. But for a kapara ish who's a bar mitzvah, meaning he has to keep all the mitzvahs, he can get kapara. Isha the lav bas mitzvah, a woman who doesn't have all the mitzvahs, lie. Maybe she doesn't have an opportunity to have a kapara. I can't say I understand that havamina, because she's potter from mitzvah shazman grama. So mamela, she's not going to get a kapara. I don't know.
They won't need it. They won't need it.
They won't need it.
That's what it says here.
That's what they say.
Since they're less demanding, since the Torah was less demanding of women in regard to observance of mitzvos, it could be argued that the Torah was also less strict in its requirement for their atonement for sin.
You mean they just
would not require a sacrifice to be forgiven for their sins, and simple repentance would suffice.
They say that from anybody?
No, it's in parentheses, and they did not quote anybody.
Hey, okay, I don't know. I didn't learn pshat. I didn't learn pshat like that. That's, I don't know. It could be that's pshat. It's way more positive pshat than I had, which I would like to go with the positive pshat. So that makes more sense. You're saying that they don't even need a kapara. Okay, maybe. It doesn't fit with the first part. The first how we mean the Gemara, that the Gemara says they had rachmanis on the woman to allow her to get a kapara. So okay. Yashmin and Hani Tarti, you would say the first two hachamashum kapara v'hachamashum chiyusa. One is because of kapara, one is because of chiyusa. Aval inin katala, but by killing, which is the last pasuk, ishta bar mitzvah l'shalem koifer. So ishta bar mitzvah. So if his ox kills, right? If an ox kills a person, then he's going to have to pay koifer, right? Koifer is a kapara, because again the human didn't kill, his ox killed. Isha loy, right? But a woman, it doesn't have that. So meaning if you kill a woman, maybe you wouldn't have to pay koifer. Kamash malon that you do. V'yashminu koifer mishum deika ibud neshama. Koifer, a neshama dies. Avahani tarti delek ibud neshama. But these two, that there's no ibud neshama, because it's just regular damage. Emaloi. So you say that women are not like men. So tzricha. That's what we needed all three psukim to tell us that women are totally included in men, and they're in tshuva and all that. Tshuva and killing and damages and etc. etc. Okay, let's see some Tillim. Okay. Pegimel, yeah.